So what we're going to be going through is, first of all, the concept of a lead magnet to generate leads and generate new business and basically get people into our world of who we are, what we do, and what we provide. And for many, many years, probably decades at this stage, we've been doing various types of lead magnets. So just let me know in the chat if you are familiar or have produced any of the following. Do you have a free guide, a checklist, a template? Maybe you run a webinar. Maybe you have a resource sheet, a discount coupon, quiz is in there, free trial, maybe you have a little toolkit, maybe a suite of YouTube videos or a challenge. Any of those, newsletter as well, yeah, absolutely, newsletter as well. Okay, yeah, so, they are quite popular for sure, but the challenge is with a lot of them is that they don't work as well anymore. Okay, there was a golden age, if you will, of lead magnets where we attracted people into our funnel and people downloaded our guide, subscribed to our newsletter, etc. But unfortunately, there's a little bit of saturation. We've kind of gone from the golden age of lead magnets working to saturation, where people have potentially great intentions of downloading your PDF and reading it, and maybe it goes into a folder with other ones, etc. And that is a big challenge with the traditional lead magnets, if you will. There's a lot of noise out there, and in a lot of cases, not a lot of value with these as well. And the big challenge with lead magnets is that, or the traditional ones at least, is that it's a one size fits all, okay? It's a one size fits all. So in other words, we put together this checklist and we put together these different resources and info products and so on, and we put them together almost in a generic way, or at least we try to match them as close as we can to the audience that we'd like to attract. But unfortunately, they still tend to fall into the challenge of one size fits all, because not everybody that you want to attract is at the same place in the journey. Even though they may want what you have, they're still at different places in the journey, or they may have a different perception of what you provide, or indeed you may not even address some of the challenges that they actually have, and therefore the lead magnet does not convert as well as it should. So we're going to go through a different type of lead magnet that's going to help you with that, okay? So the lead magnet that you want to create is one that is going to be aware of somebody's current reality and the obstacles that they face and their desired reality, okay? So essentially, this is a well-proven blueprint in terms of what people go through before they buy, okay? They have a current reality that they're not satisfied with, and they have a desired reality, in other words, where they want to get to by buying this product or service. And there's obstacles in the way of making that buying decision. They're not essentially sure whether they should buy it or not. So what we're going to go through is allow you with this lead magnet to actually be able to show people that you know their current reality, and also they're going to be allowed to show you what their current reality is. So you're going to do that, and then you're going to also, with this lead magnet, show them that you're aware of the obstacles and allow them to choose from different obstacles as they apply to those people. And then you're going to show them that you know what their desired reality is and how you can get them there. And it's really the tension between the current reality and the desired reality that is what makes people buy. You just have to make sure that that you're aware of the obstacles and that you're allowing them to share these obstacles with you, and then that you can address these obstacles. Okay, so that's what we're going to be taking you through. Okay, so let's say, for example, somebody wants financial freedom. That's their, they want the dream life. They want, that's their desired reality. But unfortunately, their current reality is they're stressed, they have no free time, they're stuck in a rut, and they want this desired reality. And the obstacles in the middle are fear, doubt, lack of resources, procrastination, etc., etc. So really what you want to do is hold up a mirror, if you will, and allow them to see themselves in the mirror in this current reality, and also allow them to see the desired reality, to make them aware that you're aware of the obstacles and that they can share those obstacles with you so that you're even more aware, and then prove with the follow-up that you can remove the obstacles and get them to their desired reality. So that's what we're going to be going through. Okay, so really the challenge with the traditional lead magnet, and they still work to a certain extent, but the big challenge is that a lead magnet gets contact information. Okay, it only gets contact information. And while that's good, it's not good enough anymore. Okay, you need to have a very, very high performing landing page with a very, very high conversion rate and a very, very powerful sequence of follow-up emails, well written and well tested, in order for the traditional lead magnet and funnel to actually work by just having contact information. But we're going to go through a lead magnet known as a quiz funnel, or an assessment, it's often called, or a scorecard, that gets not just contact information, but it gets connection information. And the difference being that contact information is a name and email, connection information is really where you get a strong sense of their current reality, of the obstacles that they face, and indeed their desired reality. And then you can tailor your advice and your email follow-up and your webinar and your offer, etc., in accordance to this connection information over and above the one-size-fits-all contact information. The other statistic that's pretty scary is that about 2% of people will sign up to your lead magnet that land on your website, versus 30 to, and some people have seen up to 70% will actually take a quiz and put in their contact information. And that's huge, obviously. Like 15 to 35 times better performance where people are actually engaging with your quiz or assessment. And we will look at examples of that. Anybody here in the room got a quiz/assessment going right now? Just give me a 1 in the chat, or the word quiz if you have. Anybody got one going right now? We got some new messages coming in here. It's rough. Okay, so you're starting out, Tess, I guess. Steve has one as well. Is it live, Steve? Can you put the link in the chat? Maybe we could take your quiz.
Yeah, I can dig it up.
Okay. Great. So that's what we're going to be going through, is actually what it is, how it works, and a couple of strategies in the time that we have to walk you through what it is and what's possible. So essentially what it is, and this is one we're building out for a nutritionist in California who has a quiz about emotional eating and cravings. So, this is essentially a cartoon drawing panel, if you like, explaining it. So somebody comes to the website and they're going to do this craving quiz to find out really what's triggering them emotionally about eating based on emotion as opposed to hunger. So they do, they are asked a few simple questions. For example, when do cravings hit hard? And people start to put in their answers, and then they get a personalized set of results and advice based on where the person is at, essentially based on their answers. Okay, so that is what the quiz does, and then they get this personalized plan. It's super engaging, super useful, and super customized, because the advice that this person who completes the assessment or quiz gets is based on their answers and not the dreaded one size fits all. So that's really essentially what the huge difference is in terms of building out your quiz. So in terms of well, actually, let me see what Steve has for us today. So how are you set up for growing profits? Okay, and you can fill it out, so you can tick that and so on. Great. And how did you build this, Steve?
Well, this is actually a licensed tool, but I'm in the process of building my own unique tool.
Okay, perfect. Because there's a lot going on in terms of, wow, this looks pretty pretty intense. On people see everything as they land on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop into the chat here some quizzes that I have, and I'm going to invite you, if you haven't already, to do the lead generation quiz. Okay, so if you want to take a minute to do that, there is the link in the chat, and you just simply take the quiz, and it takes about 2 minutes. Okay. And this particular platform that I love is called ScoreApp, which we'll talk about. And you can not only just put in text-based questions and formats, you can put in image-based ones as well, and there can be animated GIFs as well that I help people to make. So you're going to simply answer the questions here if you haven't done the quiz already. I know some of you have. So are you Sad Sam when it comes to lead gen, or are you lead gen Linda? So let's pick lead gen Linda in this case. And then, you can choose on a scale of a 1 to 5. So if you're designing a quiz, it's really important that you mix up the modalities, in other words, the formats of the answers. So this is a scale. You pick 1 to 5. You can choose whatever number you that matches where you're at right now. What type of lead magnet do you have? And you can pick more than one if you have more than one. And again, you're going to start to, when you do a quiz like this or an assessment, you start to see in percentage terms how many people have different ways of doing what you're providing, okay? Or different challenges perhaps. How personalized is your marketing from, good right down to bad? So I'm going to pick bad here. And so on and so forth. So if you can pick them as close to your reality as possible, that would be great. This is a linear scale one. Are you confident or not? Let's say 5 in this case. When someone gets your lead magnet, can you tell if they're ready to buy? Yes, mostly or absolutely. This is a different type of answer format. Big green buttons in my case to go with my branding. They can be any color you want. So does your lead magnet automatically give each person personal advice? Yes, partly automated. I'm just picking them randomly here. Back to a linear scale. You can pick more than one here. Which best describes your approach with lead magnets? How urgent, and you can slide the scale up there. Nearly finished now at 70. And again, you can have 10 to 12, 14. It depends on how warm your audience is, who you're sending it to. You can have 5, you can have 25 questions. This is an A, B, or C. Let's go for not yet. Making progress. When you learn something new, how do you prefer to do that? Figure it out yourself. Get 1-to-1, whatever is most appropriate. And then how did you hear about the quiz? And I can just put in me, let's say, because I heard about my own quiz. And this is the really powerful part. You know, if they want the results in a PDF format, if you go for that plan, they have to put in their details. And you can have the option that they don't have to, that they can go straight to the results page without getting their name and email. That's totally up to you. But you can then automatically, because it's set up in the background, once you set it up, you automatically, and more importantly, they automatically get a very professional looking quiz with an overall score and a message saying the email, and you can even personalize it with their name because they put that in. And then you're going to show them a breakdown based on the categories, how they done and what they should do. So this part is the same for every category. It describes what the measure is all about, and then the rest is all about the specific things they need to do based on their score, not a one size fits all. So if they got 10% here, they would get a set of steps, and if they got 58% in this case, they get a different set of steps. So you're just going to essentially set up 3 pieces of advice. Advice for those who score low, advice for those who score medium, and advice for those who score high in each of the categories. And they get a very specific and personalized result. Okay? So a lot more specific and tailored and personalized to the person's answers. And then if we go into the back end here of Score App in this case, and there are other options, it's just my preferred choice. We can see the leads here that just came in. We can get insights, so we can see how many new leads we got, how many people came to the quiz, the conversion rate, the different scoring, and so on. And then we can go into the specific answers, which is really, really powerful. Okay, how effective. So for example, if I go in here, I can click on this little panel, and I can see that 26% of my audience are using ebooks or guides, 20% almost are using templates, a lot of people using complementary coaching. And the challenge with complementary coaching is it's complementary. But the challenge with it on top of that is that you have to ask pretty much most of the questions from the assessment. You have to ask them to get them know them when you meet them. And they may not be ready at all to invest. Okay, they may be looking for some free advice. You just don't know. So complementary coaching is great when you add the quiz/assessment to it. Say, hey, I offer complimentary coaching. Please take this assessment so that when we meet, I can give you very specific advice. Now, one of the questions you can have is how willing are they to invest in a solution if it fits with what they need? Is it kind of yes or no, or maybe not just yes and no, but I'm willing to invest in the next week, the next month, the next year. So you can get a sense of whether or not you should even do the complimentary call with them, because you know in advance that they simply don't have the budget or they're not willing to take action in the immediate future. So it's up to you to have a question or two like that, if that makes sense for you, which I believe it should, where people who come to the complimentary call, you have a strong sense of not only where they're at, but how willing they are to invest and move forward. To the point where if they're not, you can actually not meet them for the complimentary call, but instead say, we would advise that you watch the following video or read the following resource before we meet, so that we can make best use of your time. So what you can do is, per person then, when you go into your answers, into your leads essentially, let's say I'm meeting Steve, got 59%, very good. So I can go to his specific answers, hope you don't mind, Steve, and I have one down the bottom. How does he prefer to learn? Live group coaching, because he is on one of my programs. And then question 17, do you think it would work for your business? I'd like to learn more on how it would work. So I can basically, when I do the complimentary call with Steve, if that what my follow-up is, we can go straight into the lower scores and discuss where he needs help. Okay? So for example, automation is the lowest score. So when we meet, we would go through how we can help Steve improve his systems and automation when it comes to his lead magnet. Okay? And then, you know, we can look at other activity and specific answers. So he said Sam for lead gen, and so on. So we can, you know, really zoom in on where Steve needs most help when it comes to the complimentary call. And then from a overall point of view, we can start to tweak and tailor our offers based on where our audience is at. So we might surprisingly see that, you know, a lot of people are scoring high in a certain area that we thought they would need help with, and a lot of people might be scoring low in an area that we thought, through the curse of knowledge and experience, we might think, God, I thought everybody knew that. So we can tailor our webinars and our offers and our courses, etc., and indeed our emails and our follow-up based on the answers. So if we look at 50% is high here, how confident are you that your messaging attracts ready to buy leads? So half the people are confident, and then a quarter are at 2, 20% are at 1. So only half are confident, which means the other half are not confident at all in their lead generation activity. Do you have a lead magnet that automatically gives personalized advice? Only 20%. So next week I could do a webinar about how to create a lead magnet that gives personalized advice. Because I know that 80% of my audience do not have something that does that. Okay, and that's what all the master classes are about this week, is to actually help you come up with a lead magnet that you can start for free and get, you know, up to 10 responses. And then if it's working for you, move to the paid plan where you can get up to 100 responses a month. And you can tailor your offer based on real information about people's obstacles and challenges that they're facing, that you mightn't necessarily know in the level of detail that you get here, where they're really having the challenges. And one of the most powerful parts of this platform is you can create an audience automatically. So if I go back to go to the iPad here for a moment and just go through it. So what happens when someone comes in and gets the lead magnet? It's basically kind of a yes-no situation. If they said yes, direct them this way, and if they said no, direct them this way. And you can build that into the quiz funnel as well. For example, if I said, do you use Windows or Mac? Now, what I use to teach people to present like this is called OBS, as some of you know, and it doesn't matter if it's Windows or Mac. But I still ask the question. But if it did matter, if they said Windows, you can direct them down this path of questions. And if they said Mac, you can direct them, if, for example, it's male and female. So you can direct people down a path. And then you can send them an email specifically to those who went down this path and a different lead magnet or email to people who went down this path. So really, really powerful. The other thing then you can do with the audiences, as I have up here on the screen, is that with audiences, you can say, if they answer a specific question in a specific way. So for example, if I go in here to settings, the way I have this configured is, do you think an interactive quiz like the one you just did essentially would work for your business? If they said definitely, they're going to get immediate attention from me. Okay. Now, what is definitely made up of? Well, it's definitely they answered the question, but also if they say possibly, I'd like to learn more. So if they said definitely or possibly, and not any of the other answers that were there, they're automatically put in to an audience that I've created called follow-up. And in there right now, there are 28. Okay, and that the quiz is pretty new. So my point here is that you can automate the prioritizing essentially who you're going to follow up with based on the quiz, with a couple of smart questions, non-invasive questions that make sense to ask, but in the back end. Now, as well as that, you can tag people based on any of the questions. What do we mean by tagging? Well, essentially, if they answer a question, let's say Windows or Mac, they're tagged in your email system. And then they're going to get emails because they're Windows as opposed to Mac. And essentially what you're starting to do is have real conversations that are automated, but also real from the point of view that when the person gets the email, they say, wow, Steve knows that I use Windows as opposed to Mac. And that's a simple example. He knows a few more things, obviously, based on the quiz and assessment. And you can do the same. So the emails that you write in advance and set up in your CRM, your email system, people are getting emails based on where they're at, the obstacles they're facing, and their specific desired reality. Now, even if you have only one product or service, you can write the emails in such a way that makes sense to people no matter where they're at, but that the solution also makes sense. So I have a quiz about, how professional are you at presenting? Take the quiz and find out. And people get various scores. And even if you score, let's say, to exaggerate the point, if you score 2%, the email that you get is going to be worded in a way that 2% is okay. You've started and there's an opportunity to improve. And if you're at 75%, there's still 25% to improve. At least the emails are worded in that way. Okay? So that is just to take you through the power of platforms like this. As I say, my preferred choice is ScoreApp. So just to summarize, you're going to start to meet people at their current reality. What is, a simple way is what the person has right now that they don't want. Okay? What do they want that they don't have? What do they have that they don't want? Okay, so what frustrations, inefficiencies, things that feel slow and messy, day-to-day challenges, how do people describe those to you? Their current reality. And when they start to admit to themselves through an assessment that these are real issues, they're more likely to move forward. Okay, admitting you have a problem is the first step in